because this is actually kind of a big deal.
It's not even kind of a big deal.
Kind
It's
of
a really
kind of a
fucking
big
big
deal.
deal.
It's kind of a really fucking big
Finn
deal.
is pregnant.
Finn is pregnant.
He's glowing.
He is glowing.
He kind of is, actually. It's awesome.
No, it's just the light in his head.
Thank you, Fester.
Not
So,
the first time we've heard that joke.
Yeah, I know. So many of you might know our lease is coming up at the end of this 2014, and this is the time where we have to actually start thinking about what we're going to do in the future here.
So
Well, I've been
flip the
here.
coin.
Yeah. No, well, I've been here for about 10 years. And that's a long time to be doing anything. And I had to give this a lot of thought. And Chris has been doing this for kind of a long time too, and he had to give this a lot of thought too. And we weren't sure what we were going to do with that. And then thankfully, we had some people like Matt and PK and Mike come in and make this all a lot easier. So instead of closing down, which we were actually really thinking about doing, we are renting the space out next door, or trying to. We're in negotiations. That's why this party is really late, because we've been working on this. There's no dice, because this whole thing is kind of still coming together. We're trying to rent the space out next door to open a cafe. Because we realize that a lot of the folks who come down here late at night, we don't have a lot of options for you. And this is our community, so we feel like we need to do a little bit more. The store is kind of cool, but it wasn't as awesome as it used to be, so maybe this is a little bit more something that will be awesome. Chris has a lot of this vision. I'm just kind of doing a lot of the business stuff, so I'm going to let him talk about it for a few minutes here.
Okay. This, like all good ideas, came at the end of a joke. So, Chris likes pinball. And so, every once in a while, he'll put up a joke, like, we'll send me a link to a Craigslist posting for something cool that he likes, and we talk about it. We joke. And
That
so,
I can't have at home.
we can't have it home. So we joke that the place next door, as many of you know, has been a revolving door of failure.
Yeah.
And so the joke was that we should rent out the place next door and just put in a bunch of pinball machines and video games and make our own personal arcade.
Yeah.
Which sounded like fun, but not actually all that profitable.
No.
So then that kind of developed into, well, things are pretty good. We have Matt and Mike, and they're making life a hell of a lot easier and doing a great job up here. So maybe we could do something better. Maybe we could build something more. So we thought that if we wanted to be here for another 5 years, that we wanted to build something in addition.
Yep.
So the goal for this is to have a cafe, to have coffee, to have pastries, to have all that kind of stuff. And to also put in a bunch of old school video games and stuff like that that people can hang out. Some of the cocktail tables with a bunch of different games. So kind of to be a little something that gave you everything you wanted kind of in a game space. So if you come down, you get a cup of coffee, you play some pinball, and then you go play board games. And that's your evening. So we're trying to make this a better place to be, and that's what we want to try to do.
And some of the inroads of this you guys have seen, like we've made some connections with people like the Double Clicks and Marion Hall and things like that. Well, I also know a lot of science fiction writers through some other things that I do. They've been wanting to do things like book signings and things like that. Well, a game store just doesn't really work for that. You know, I mean, I can provide the space, but as a business person, it's not a great thing to do. Well, a cafe is a different story. So I can have a lot of science fiction authors come down and do readings. We can have music next door. It kind of gives us a lot more options to serve the geek community around here, which we're really tapped into, but doesn't make a lot of financial sense for a game store to do. So that's kind of the plan. So here's what's next, everybody, and you got to listen to this part. We're going to do a Kickstarter next year to fund a lot of this.
All right.
I've got some good friends who can help me do that, thankfully. And I'm actually flying out to New Jersey next week to start planning this. So look for that.
The mob is behind this?
Yes.
Waste management.
Hold on. Hey, did you get his picture? Because I got to make sure that they know.
Sure, blame the Jew.
Yeah, well, stand in the middle. So that's number one. We'll get details out to everybody. It's important, but we're going to need your social networks for that. We're going to just need people to really yell about this. Number two, in the next few weeks, you're going to start seeing the Oakland Mayor's Toy Drive bins start to appear at EndGame. That's a big deal both for the city and for us. So if you have any charitable stuff you wish to do this year, a lot of that's going to go towards the expansion that we're trying to do. And also, you know, the holidays are coming up. Do a little shopping here. But again, more importantly, everyone in here, make this part of your social networks if you want this to work. Because a cafe opening up down here, we're only going to do evening service. We're not going to do morning service to compete with the people around us. We're just going to do this for you guys. So we kind of need you to talk about it.
We built the game store we had always wanted, and that's what we're trying to do next door, too.
Yep. So that's it. That's the announcement. We're not closing.
Yeah.